right, everybody, welcome back. This is Music Talk with Dave and Mike. Today, we are reviewing Blue Oyster Cult. The Symbol Remains. How cool is that album cover right there, man?
That's always been a cool symbol.
I know. Plus, they got Saturn right there in the middle.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
Yep.
I mean, that's one thing I'll say about Blue Oyster Cult is they have always had good album covers. I love it. I love looking at their art.
Yep.
So I never really was a big Blue Oyster Cult fan. Now, I've seen them twice. I've seen them. They opened up for Rush one year, and they were, you know, a good band. This was in the, I want to say 84, 85 range.
Right.
And then I saw them again a couple of years later. And if I'm not mistaken, I probably am. So if I am, y'all can tell me in the comments and tell me how stupid I am. But they came one year as Soft White Underbelly because they were having a problem with their record label.
Right. I saw
so, yeah, they kind of jabbed them with it and said, you know what, we'll just go out as Soft White Underbelly. And I saw that concert and it was pretty good too. And I think at the time they had a hit called Take Me Away or Come Take Me Away or something like that. It was something about alien abduction, which seems to be a running theme with these guys. I mean, they always seem to have it. So now with this album, I got to tell you, it's heavy. It's a pretty heavy album. I'm really shocked because when I first put it on, I'm like, man, this is some heavy guitar riffs in here. And I don't remember them being that heavy in the past. And I mean, I don't know what you think, but to me, they were always more lighter rock.
I remember back 71, 72, when I started listening to them, they were pretty heavy.
Yeah. Well,
but like I say, you know, I know when they came out with Don't Fear the Reaper, I kind of think they leaned a little bit more towards pop in that era and just going with the times, you know. I mean,
right.
But this album here, real refreshing to listen to. I loved it.
I tell you, I mean, I put on the first track, That Was Me. And when I heard that first guitar riff, now I'm sitting there thinking, man, these guys this is like a hard rock record. This is not a typical Blue Oyster Cult. So it got me thinking, I'm like, maybe I just don't know Blue Oyster Cult. So what I did was I went back in their catalog and I started sampling some of the stuff and checking out, you know, stuff I may have missed. And generally their albums were not as heavy. There were some heavy songs, but they were generally more, in my opinion, in the vein of like a Doobie Brothers Kiss type thing. They didn't have this heavy, like hard rock guitar. But then in late 90s, they put out an album called Heaven Forbid, which I believe they switched record companies at the time. And that record company was more of a heavy metal company.
Right.
That whole album was heavy. So this album to me kind of lines up with the 98 or 97, 98. I'm not sure what year. I'm sure whoever's watching can tell me. But anyway, so, I mean, the first three songs, you know, you got That Was Me, Box in My Head, and Tainted Blood.
Yeah.
Which I got to tell you, Tainted Blood, I really like that song.
Yeah. I was impressed with it too. I was like, wow. You know?
Yeah. And I know we were talking earlier about this. They have a new singer, which really theoretically he is a new singer, but he's been in the band since 2004. And that's Richie Castanella or Castellano. I probably said it wrong. And I'm sure y'all can correct me later in the comments, and that's fine. But I mean, he's been with the band since 04. So that's 17 years. Right. And I think he sings lead on 3. He's got 3 songs he's doing lead on. And I really like his voice. I mean, I think he's got a really good voice.
Well, I was shocked that it didn't seem like any of the vocal quality had disappeared. You know, because I figured, well, you know, getting older.
Right.
And
well,
they sound pretty damn fresh to me. There was 1 or 2 songs I could tell there was some age kicking in there or something. I don't know what it is. When we get older, singing, we got to throw that tremolo in. You know,
You got to give it a little character, a little meat.
yeah.
But well, Buck Dharma's 72 and
Yeah.
Eric Bloom's 75. So I mean, they
Right.
aren't spring chickens. But I will
Right.
say, you know, last time when we did the Wishbone Ash, it seemed like they kind of overlooked the vocal production. But on this album, I think they hit everything. I mean, there's nothing on this album that is bad production.
Right.
I don't know. I wish I would have wrote down who produced this record. I need to start writing that stuff down because I want to keep up with this stuff. But I mean, like I said, the first 3 songs, I mean, they were heavy. And then I get to song number 4, and that was Nightmare Epiphany. Now, to me, I mean, it kind of, I was almost expecting Brian Setzer to come out and play guitar on it. I mean, it was like rockabilly to me.
Right.
But that's more of what I was finding in their catalog in the past. That's kind of more of a Blue Oyster Cult song.
Yeah.
Because I had originally in my notes that there were 2 songs on here that didn't match the record.
Right.
But then going back in their catalog, I'm thinking, well, those 2 songs are Blue Oyster Cult, and the rest of it doesn't really match, you know? I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, the whole album, honestly, was just like taking a trek all the way back through to the sounds that they used in the beginning. I mean, it was just a revamp, and they freshened it up. And
yeah,
I mean, the drums are killing it. You know, I mean, very tasteful. I mean, the double bass drum work he did. It wasn't about showing off. It was
It was tasteful, very tasteful. Yeah, and they sounded good too.
Yeah.
His snare sounded good.
Oh yeah, well, he had about 3 or 4 different snare sounds. I can tell he was changing snares.
But you know how I am about snares and hi-hats, man. If they don't sound good, then I'm gonna let you know. And this, and like I said, this album, I mean, the whole production, Nightmare Epiphany, I mean, and this is throughout the whole record. The harmony vocals are just unbelievable. I mean, they're nice and smooth. They got 3, 4-part harmonies going on. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, after that, then you get to the middle of the album and it starts getting a little edgier. You got Edge of the World, which is basically about, you know, following internet conspiracies. You know, I don't know if you got much into the lyrics, but
there were a couple of songs of lyrics, and my wife pointed it out before I caught it. She felt like they were leaning a little bit more to the Christian side, the religion side. I'm like,
well, that may be like on Return of Saint Cecilia and stuff. So that could be. But I will say, there's one thing I got to tell everybody. If you're doing a record, this is for anybody out there that's writing songs and doing records, young guys, older dudes, whatever. If you're going to record something, just do me a favor and don't do these 2 things, because these 2 things drive me crazy on a record. 1, telephone ringing. Do not put telephone ringing on there, because when I'm driving down the road and I'm listening to this song, I think my phone's ringing. So then I'm like looking for my dadgum phone, right? So don't do that.
No more ELO in the car.
Right. Well, that's actually home phone, so that's not as bad. But then another thing that people do, it's not on this record, but don't put sirens on a song.
Yeah, well,
because I don't want to be looking in my rearview mirror thinking I'm getting ready to get pulled over.
Okay.
So
no ELO,
no cell phones, no sirens. Just do me that big favor, and I will enjoy your CD.
Yeah.
Anyway, that brings me to The Machine, and that's about cell phones. I mean, basically, it talks about everybody walking around with their head in their phone, you know. So it takes me to track 7, the train song. And I mean, it kind of threw me off guard a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm rocking out, and then I get this song, and it's kind of like I'm at a hoedown.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
well, you know, I liked it. I liked the change up.
Yeah.
Because it got away from the 4/4 drudge or the 6/8 drudge, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and don't get me wrong, I love hard rock and music, but it was a different approach. It actually, what is it, the third song
Tainted Blood.
sounded like it reminded me of the Boot Hill stuff we used to do. You know, we would do electric bluegrass. You know,
you're talking about Nightmare Epiphany #4.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We would do, you know, electric bluegrass, Glendale Train, stuff like that. And then there they were. I'm like, that was the last thing I expected them to do was a up tempo 2/4 with heavy metal sounds.
Right,
like,
and that's what I said. I was waiting for Brian Setzer to come out and start, you know, rocking it. But you know, it was definitely a change of pace. So
yeah,
that song, Nightmare Epiphany and the Train True song, those were the two right off the bat that I thought were kind of odd. But going back in their catalog, it fits them. I mean, those are true Blue Oyster Cult songs. There's no doubt about it. You know, I think the rest of the heaviness that's in here is it's you know, it surprised me. You know, then we get to the return of Saint Cecilia, which you know puts Richie back on vocals again, and that's kind of like a nod to the early tapes. You know, back before they actually became Blue Oyster Cult, I think.
right.
There's a buddy of mine that's a big Blue Oyster Cult fan. His name's Corey. Corey, pipe in on this stuff because I know how much you know about Blue Oyster Cult. So you can come and comment, tell me everything that you want to know. You're actually one of the reasons why I'm doing this review because I didn't know this was out until you got all your box sets coming in. So anyway, feel free to comment down there and give us your input because you know more about Blue Oyster Cult than anybody that I know. So anyway,
Probably knows a lot more about him than I do.
yeah, I mean he's a big fan. So
well,
Return of Saint Cecilia, that's another one that I really liked. You know, I've got a star by 4 songs on here, and basically that means I went back to them songs, and I listened to them several times because I liked them. So I had Tainted Blood, which is you know like the vampire love song or something, but great song, spooky a little bit. Edge of the World, I love that. That was the internet conspiracy song. I mean, great riffs. And then the Return of Saint Cecilia, I thought that was a great song. Really liked it. And then I got The Alchemist. That's track 11. That one I liked it. That's a really heavy riff in there. I really dug that song. That was really cool. But after Saint Cecilia, you got Stand and Fight. Now, one thing I want to say about Stand and Fight is it sounded like Metallica. It was like a Metallica song. It reminded me of For Whom the Bell Tolls. The bass, the drums. It was like, wow. I mean, I really thought, at first I thought it was a remake. And then I'm like, no, because the bass line's different.
Yeah. I was never a Metallica fan.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a big Metallica fan either. I mean, you know, I can appreciate what they did and all the work they put in, but I was never either. But it just shocked me that on a Blue Oyster Cult album that I have something that sounds like Metallica.
Right.
You know?
Well, yeah, and that's I mean, talk about Metallica. I give them props though for when they worked with Guns N' Roses, and that's a whole nother story there.
Yeah, well, needless to say, I probably will never do a Guns N' Roses review because I'm not going to have a lot of good stuff to say.
I don't either. So
I probably won't request anything by Guns N' Roses, just for future reference. So you know, and then you got that song, and then you had Florida Man, which is basically a meme history of Florida. You know, kind of like Florida was cursed by some Seminoles. You know, some curse from the Seminoles that's carried on through the years, and now you have all these memes of the Florida Man. You know, it's a cool song. It was really it was like a picture book of everything that's happened in Florida. You know.
Oh yeah, I remember the old Virginia Beach days. We used to talk about they need to put a gate up over Florida, not allow them in.
There's definitely a lot that goes on down there.
I can't say
always
that
in the news.
Floridians.
Always in the news.
Always in. Well, kind of like Seattle here. You know?
Yeah.
Else.
Right. I know. So then you got The Alchemist, which we've already talked a little bit about. I liked it a lot. And then it ends up with the last 3. You got Secret Road, There's a Crime, and Fight. Those 3 songs. I mean, good songs, good riffs. They kind of end out the album pretty good. you know, I don't have a lot of bad to say. I can't say anything bad about this one, honestly. I
No,
mean,
I
it's a,
can't either, you
it's a
know.
great album. I mean, what really stuck out to you on this whole album as a whole? What did you get out of this mostly?
Again, and like we talked about last week with Wishbone Ash, I was really glad to hear a lot of old school happening. You
Yeah,
know, there was no sampling again. You know, it was all instruments. Um, I don't know. Everything. It seems like everything goes full circle,
yeah,
and history always repeats itself. And I think that's what we're in the middle of right now. I think we're beginning to see that again. I think the days of the speed blast on the drums and all that are about to get left behind. Thankfully, you know.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Grunge is gone.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, I don't think grunge is gone. It's just not.
can I have something? Can I have some hope? I'm
No,
just
I'd
kidding.
rather grunge stick around. There's a few other types of music I'd like to see disappear, but I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll review some of those later. So yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I'm not sure who the actual lead guitar player is because you're looking at, you know, Eric Bloom and Buck Dharma both play guitar, and also Richie does too. So I'm not. I think Buck's probably their main lead guitarist, if I had to guess. But I tell you, man, the guitar playing on here it's not lacking. I mean, these guys are ripping. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
them solos, the stuff he's doing. I mean, it was a I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. There's,
Hmm.
you know, there's a lot of good hard rock guitar, good hard rock riffs, good singing. All three of the guys can sing.
Yeah.
Harmonies are great. And I think the one thing about it, and I was trying to, I'm going to have a hard time saying this because I came up with this and I'm not going to be able to say it because it's like a tongue twister, but this album exudes familiarity to me.
Oh yeah.
When I'm
Yeah.
listening to it, it's like, man, I know these songs already. It's like I've been listening to them for years. It's, you know, I'm almost like, man, I'm singing along with this song and I just heard it for the first time. I think as far as a review goes, I mean, you know, I had to give it like about an 8.5, man. I mean,
Yeah. I
I'm
was.
probably never going to give a 10. So if people think I'm ranking low on these things, yeah, I'm never going to give a 10. There's never going to be that perfect album. But when we find it, I'll give you a 10. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to find a perfect album anymore, you know,
Well, yeah.
or even in the past, you know. So
Yeah. I got a few tens in the past, but
yeah, and we'll actually we'll do a topic on that. We'll see if we can come up with perfect albums.
yeah.
You know, we'll set the bar for
Yeah.
what we're doing in the future. So, but overall, I give it an 8.5. I mean, 8.5, 8.5. It's a good score for me. I
Yeah. I was
mean,
gonna say about an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I would
yeah,
say that.
yeah.
Um,
Which,
I
by the
hope that
way,
they're
this is
capable of. I hope they're capable of following it up just as strong, and you know, because that was a strong bite there,
yeah,
and they've been out of it. I mean, they hadn't recorded anything in 20 years, so I hope
right.
that that's not what we witnessed was 20 years of putting it together, and then they were able to really rip it out. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, and that was kind of concerning me too. I mean, this is their 15th album, but it's been since 2001, I believe, was their last record.
right,
So,
right.
yeah, so you're looking at 20 years. And you know, there was a lot going on. I mean, they had a lot of change up in the lineup. They lost their keyboard player, Alan Lanier, I believe is his name.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
passed in 2013, so
yeah.
that may have set him back a little bit.
Well, he was
But
a
I
major
will say
song.
they've been hitting the road, man.
Yeah,
They've been playing.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's the only way you can make a living in the business anymore because
Right,
record sales don't do it. You
right.
know, it's got to be YouTube and streaming services and stuff, and you know,
Yeah. Well, this one's worth the buy. So buy this one. Support the band. Looks like this.
oh, I'll
Symbol
definitely.
remains. Go get it. It's a cool album cover. Great album. You can't go wrong with it. I
That's
loved
right.
it. 8.5. I'll listen to this. This is going to be. I'll be listening to this one a lot, actually.
Yeah,
So
I will too. I will
so let's
too.
go You got anything else you want to comment on that on the record? Anything
Uh,
else?
No, not really. I mean, I could dig in and start talking individually about each musician on there, but I don't see the need. They all fit well together.
Yeah.
Just all works, man.
Yep.
All of
Overall,
it.
I say, guys, girls, guys, whoever's watching, just go out there and get it. It's not a
Exactly.
disappointment. It's a surprising, not even surprising. I mean, they've always been talented, but it's just a very good record put together well. I mean, great production, great sounds, everything on it's good.
Yep.
I have nothing bad about that one.
I agree with that.
So that brings us to the topic of the day. This one's going to be fun for you, though, man. I mean, you got to have to love this topic. So today's topic is drum intros. Our favorite drum, not our favorite drum intros, but top drum intros, ones that, mean something or something that, you heard when you were younger and you were like, man, what an intro, but it's only for drums for me. So I mean, there's a lot of drum intros that had other instruments going on that I think are really super cool too. But what I did was I zeroed out all instruments and it was only the drums. So I only wanted to hear drums at the intro, and that's where I compiled this list.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these, I think you'll be surprised. And I'm pretty sure you'll have a couple of these on yours. I hope you do. I didn't. Now I want to go ahead and put this disclaimer out. I did not include any Jeff Porcaro because we could do a whole episode on Jeff Porcaro drum intros.
Yeah.
And we probably will one day. So I didn't put Rosanna and all that stuff because the guy's played like 700 drum intros. I mean, by himself.
Yep.
So I left out Jeff. It's not because he's not worth it. It's just because he deserves a whole episode. Really.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and throw one out there for you. And this one is one that I'm putting this out there because when this drum intro came out, every drummer in the world, in rock and roll, whatever, wanted to make their drums sound like this. And this is When the Levee Breaks from Led Zeppelin with John Bonham. I mean, that is the most iconic drum intro I think that you could ever have. I mean, how many drummers do you know chase that sound?
Well, never find it because, in fact, they recorded that in an old church cathedral foyer.
Yeah.
It was stone, and it was about 3 stories tall.
Yeah.
And everything you hear on there is natural. They just used ambient miking, there's no close miking, and what you heard is what you get.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to promote other people's websites, but if you ever get a chance to go, I'm not sure if they took it down, but Rick Beato does a great recreation of it.
Yeah.
And he simulates it really well.
Yeah.
So check out Rick Beato's site. He's a great dude. So he creates that. And it's amazing how he gets this sound without being in a cathedral. So it was pretty cool how he did it. So anyway, that's one of my picks. And again, I'm not going from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5 or my favorite. I'm just picking 5 that I think mean a lot to me or made a deep impression on me. So that was one of mine. So what you got?
Well, there's several of them out there, but I got to go with Ian Pace. Fireball. That one ripped my head around, and I'm like, wait a minute, the guy doesn't even play double bass.
Right.
And he's ripping it. It's like, oh my God. And I actually heard him talking about it he was doing a drum clinic I saw it on YouTube, and he was talking about, he said they were just trying to figure out an intro, and he came up with that. He saw a spare bass drum sitting over in the studio, went over there and drug it over and set it down in his kit, and that's what he came up with.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's an iconic record too. I mean,
oh my God.
Fireball. I mean, if you ever played any rock guitar or any rock instrument, vocals, whatever, I mean, if you don't have that one in your list, go get it because you need it. Yeah, that was a good one. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Well, my next pick is not a real, some of these aren't real flashy. This one here, I like it because when I first heard it on the radio, it was like, man, that's pretty powerful. And this guy's done powerful drums before. But this song, that I'm picking on this one is "I Don't Care Anymore" from Phil Collins.
Oh yeah.
That the way he comes around those toms with that, you know, I mean, it's,
Yep.
I mean, you can feel those concert toms just beating in your head. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That one, I always, it's just that intro was just crazy. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, oh man, there's so many.
That's why you need a list.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at, well, take Steve Gadd, you know,
Is that your pick, sir?
50 Ways to
Is that your
Leave
next
Your
pick,
Lover.
sir?
That's my next pick.
Because I'm gonna tell you what my next pick was.
Yeah.
50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Steve
Yep.
Gadd.
Yep.
I'll substitute it with another one. But
And
go
that's
ahead.
another one. That's another one where I actually heard Steve Gadd talking about this one. And first place, the guy's a freak. The way he does it, you know, you listen to it and you think it's done basically with hands, but you watch him do it, and he's working those triplets out with his left foot and his right hand on the hi-hat.
Yep.
And it's just unreal the way he lays it in there.
Well,
but the other thing is too, is Paul Simon, I guess, was talking with the engineer and producer about what they were going to do, about how are they going to intro that song and everything. Well, Gadd's in the drum booth and they kind of got it turned off. He's just in there messing around, playing with rudiments, and he's always messed around with march and cadences because, I mean, he came from the Army band, you know, I mean.
Right.
So they heard it and they're like, hey, work that up.
Yeah.
And that's what he came up with, you know. And it's
Well,
like, it's one of those spontaneous things, you know. It's like,
one thing I'm gonna add about to this, because this was my next pick too, is that I have never, I mean, there's probably somebody out there that can do it with all these great drummers now, but I've never seen anybody play it right.
No.
They always cheat.
Yeah, I've even watched a drummer that Paul Simon used, well, I guess it's probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He was playing it the way I cheated and played it, you know, with my hands.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing the hi-hat kick, you know,
right.
the way Gadd does.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing everybody misses, is that hi-hat kick. And you know, I can't do it. I tried it. I'm like, you know what? That's way over my head. I'm just giving my bass back.
Every time I do it, I think I'm gonna sprain my jaw trying
to get that sound. Yeah.
It's like,
well, since you got that one, I'm going to add another one from my list that didn't quite make it. And this one actually is a last minute. I forgot about this until I was going through my records, and then I remembered it. And that's American Band from Grand Funk.
Oh yeah.
I mean, iconic intro, man. You know, you got the cowbell, the quads or triplets. I think he's doing quads there. Is it quads?
It's single pedal, triplets, you know, it's a plan. Blah 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 blah. You know,
I mean, who don't know that intro, right?
Yeah, it's just crazy fast.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you've played that one how many times in your life? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, American Band.
Yeah, I mean, come on, every band's played American Band. I've played it thousands of times. So
yeah.
But that's just a very iconic intro. All right, who you got next?
Well, you cannot forget In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Yeah. Does that start with drums?
Yep.
It's straight drums, yeah.
Yep, and that's why a lot of people, and this one also ties in too with Creedence. It's a Susie Q.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is,
that's true. That's right.
everybody plays Susie Q. Every drummer, even I do it, like I'm playing In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Right.
And it's wrong.
Right.
But
it's close enough, right?
All that being said, they're both iconic. You hear that going off, and especially depending on what atmosphere you're in. If you were in a heavy metal rock atmosphere and somebody started off on that on drums, I mean, you could be doing Susie Q. Mm-hmm. More than likely, the band's going to try to pull off In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Yeah. So you can kind of couple them together. You know, that might be like a 2-in-1 type deal there. We'll give you a 2-in-1 on that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly. Count that as one pick.
There you go.
This is one
I'm
pick.
trying to cheat here, man.
Yeah, that's
Come
all
on.
right. Hey, look, I mean, my paper's full too. I can't, I'm gonna throw some that didn't quite make the list later that stick out to me. But yeah, I mean, another, another good one or two. But all right, so my next one, which I have a visual aid on this one, and my next one's gonna be off of this album right here, and it's gonna be Over the Mountain.
Okay.
The intro to Over the Mountain, Lee Kerslake, he came out there, he just ripped it, I mean, you hear that, and off you go, you're taking off. You got Randy coming in, and Bob Daisley, just what a band. I mean, that was a great band. So, and Ozzy was a good singer too, don't get me wrong, but them three guys, what a band. But yeah, Lee Kerslake, very underrated drummer. Not many people even know who he is. They think Tommy Aldridge played it, but it was Lee Kerslake.
Yeah.
So that's my next one was Over the Mountain, Lee Kerslake. But
Yeah.
and there's
The
probably
other one I can think of that blows me away is off of Jeff Beck's Wired.
Yeah.
And and it's like Funky Duck or whatever.
Constipated Duck. Yeah.
Constipated Duck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Constipated Duck. Yep. I actually have that record sitting right over there. I should have grabbed it too. I was gonna.
I love it album. That's one that it just fits, man. It works. It brings that song right out. It's like,
well, I mean, listen to the bass.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yep.
And then, of course, what can you say about the god of guitar, Jeff Beck? I mean, really, wouldn't you consider him to be the god of guitar?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy's reinvented himself how many times? But we'll talk about that later when we get to guitars. But yeah, that's that one. It sucks, man, because I mean, I'm going through records and I'm trying to remember all these and then write them down later. And then, when you saying that, I'm like, man, why didn't I have that one on my list? But anyway.
Yeah, these are all things that, I know, back in the day, running around, working 5-6 nights a week as a band, and we'd get time to go run over and see somebody else. And
yeah,
you'd be shocked at what you'd see.
Yeah, I mean, local bands, which, by the way, in the future, we're going to have people on here. We're going to start bringing in guests. We're just trying to get this down because we're still doing this. It's kind of new, kind of amateur still.
Yep.
We're working out some flaws. I'm trying to get that cool Dr. Johnny Fever voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once I achieve that level of voice, there's nothing I can do with the face, but the voice I can manipulate, So anyway, we'll start bringing in local people because, I mean, really, the unsung heroes of music are local musicians. I mean, they don't get credit. They don't get paid. They sit there and work, harder than any musicians out there. And they're some of the best musicians I've ever met are local guys or girls.
Well, I mean, that's where I learned was that was my teachers was getting thrown on stage and then having to sink or swim. And
yeah,
my God, I don't wish that on anybody, but I don't think I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes us who we are. It gives us everything we do. So,
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna give you my last pick, and then we'll go to some that didn't quite make the list. So this one, which you probably don't care much for, but man, when I was in high school, and I've seen this band like 3 or 4 times back in these days, because some of these younger guys, they like this band now, but they didn't get to see them back then. It was actually one of my very first concert was this band, but not this drummer. Anyway, Where Eagles Dare on this album right here, Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind. I mean, Nico McBrain, man. And once again, a single bass drummer. He only had one pedal. He didn't do any double bass.
Mm-mm.
He actually has a video where he's showing you how to do triplets with one foot. And it reminds me of you a lot, because what you guys don't realize, when Mike was younger, we used to call him the Foot because he had the fastest foot. So we used to call him the Foot. and that reminds me a lot of what you used to do. The Carmine Appice, John Bonham doubles, and then
Yeah.
he's adding a triple, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's just working with what you got, I mean,
Yeah, I don't have it. I'll never have that. So they call me two left feet. They call him the foot. I'm two left feet. All right, what's your next pick, and then we'll move to honorables.
well, honestly, Wipeout.
Wipe. I had that. It's a great. That's not not even an intro. That's like a whole solo.
Yeah, but I mean, you can look at it, and a little history on that is the way that song came about.
Now, is that the Ventures?
Yeah, I can't think of the drummer's name. He's real famous. I should be shot for not knowing his name.
Yeah.
But the way the song came about, he was practicing paradiddles, and they talked him into doing a drum solo for a song.
Right.
And in the surfer vein. And
Yeah.
that's what I came up with.
Yeah.
And there's so many different versions of it out there now, and I've seen him do it live. And it's much better live.
Well, I can tell you this: when I was younger, every time I ever saw a drum or picked up drumsticks, even if I was hitting a table or a chair, I tried to do Wipeout. Everybody does.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you had that's a great pick, and I have that down here, but I didn't put it in my top 5, obviously. But yeah, that's a great, and and to branch off of that, the Hawaii 5-0 theme where that guy does that drum roll coming into that.
Al Blaine.
What's that?
Yeah, that's the Wrecking Crew in there, man. Al Blaine.
Yeah.
Tate and all in, man.
That just I mean, how cool is that, right?
Yep.
So I got a couple that didn't make the list. I've got, Walk This Way from Aerosmith,
Yeah.
Murder by Numbers, The Police, that rim shot.
Right.
And then I got this next one here. I love this drummer. He's crazy, weird, and he's really tasty. And it's Fire and Ice from Pat Benatar. And they got Myron Grombacher, I guess is how you say it. It's just simple, but I like it because it's so tasty, and it brings us into the song. And I love Myron was a great drummer, crazy but great drummer. Of course, we all know if you're a drummer, you're probably crazy anyway, right?
You got to be crazy.
Yeah, man.
You got to sit back there and look at the back of everybody else.
When you're hiding behind a wall, you can be crazy.
Never getting the pictures, and everybody else wants to set their amps up in front of you. I can't hear it back there. It's got to be up here in front of your bass drum. So
it is hard to take a picture of a drummer. I will say that. I mean, I tried, and you can't get good pictures of drummers in the act of playing. The sticks are always blurry, or they're doing some crazy head thing. And then a couple more real quick. I got 2 from the same guy. Take the Money and Run and Swingtown from Steve Miller.
Oh yeah.
Gary Moliver.
Oh my God, he's a monster. He's a monster player, man.
And I love Fly Like an Eagle, man. That drum beat and Fly Like an Eagle. Now, it's not an intro, so I didn't put that on here, but just to say, I mean, what a great drum track that was,
Keep on rocking me, baby. I mean, no drum intro in there, but you listen to what he's playing drum wise, it's just like,
I mean, was he a studio drummer more or less, or did he go live too?
A little bit on Steve Miller. His family was big band.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was
Glenn Miller's nephew. He grew up around big band, so I think he just naturally sought out the most educated musicians he could find.
Yeah. I mean, he had a great band.
I mean, the stuff that's being done on Steve Miller albums is it's not easy. It's not easy.
You had those 3 there right in a row that were super great albums. I think I kind of lost it a little bit when they went to the Abracadabra stuff, but what is it like? Is it like Book of Dreams or something? Fly Like an Eagle, Book of Dreams, and there was one other one in there. All 3 of those records were really great records.
I remember an early album of his. I think it was a song on there called "Your Cash Ain't Nothing But Trash" or something like that.
Yeah.
it was a pretty good song, but it was real early in his career.
Right.
Um,
So you got any other mentions you didn't quite make your list? Because you're just winging them anyway. You don't even have a list. So
no, that,
you know.
yeah. I mean, I could right now. I mean, I would be leaning more towards big band stuff like Louis Bellson,
Right.
Explosion,
Yeah.
Ed
Shaughnessy.
Caravan, I mean, I mean, it's stuff all over the place. It's just out there, man.
I know. See, I didn't even, jazz. I didn't even put jazz on here. I was kind of staying more towards the rock thing.
Right.
So, I mean, we could dedicate another episode or a week's worth of episodes really on just jazz stuff. I mean,
yeah. Well, there's so many different angles we could take on that. We could pick a musician.
Yeah.
Say like Vinnie Colaiuta, for example.
Yeah.
Just pick him and just do a review on every album he's been involved with.
There's no way we could do it.
It'd be all over the map.
Yeah, it would take us a year.
Be all over the map.
So,
I mean, Chaka Khan or Jeff Beck or
right. Sting.
Or you want to do Buddy Rich's big band,
Right.
There you go.
Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this week.
Yeah.
It's a good, once again, Blue Oyster Cult, the symbol remains. Go get it. I give it an 8.5. What did you give it, Mike?
8. Yeah.
Got an 8 from Mike. So, both of us are putting it over 8. And we got to remember we're coming from 2 different angles, So if we're both giving it over 8 or 8 or better, then it's a good album. So go check it out, go get it, buy it, support the band. They're not touring right now, so they can all, everybody could use the help.
Yeah. People remember, just go out and buy the stuff that you like.
Yep.
I know it's easy to stream, but these guys don't make money off of it.
Yeah, it would take, I think it takes 1 million streams to get like what, $5?
Something like that.
You know what I mean? Hey,
go
to their website, buy a shirt.
Friend of mine, Chuck Larson, was talking about he got a $5 royalty check off of one of his. It's like the guys, they got to make money touring and selling merchandise, and that's where their money is because they're not getting it from the record companies.
And right now, all that's been shut down. So,
yep.
So anyway, thank you all for checking us out. Subscribe to the channel, like, share, thumbs up, thumbs down. Give us a word, a good word, bad word, whatever. Just go on there and give us a word. Corey, I'm looking forward to you writing some comments because I know you got a lot to say about Blue Oyster Cult, so you can correct me on some stuff and give me your thoughts as well. Leave us some comments too, so that way we can fine tune this stuff. Yeah, we will talk back to you. I mean, even if you tell us how bad we are, I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to dog you out or anything because I mean, I know you're not telling me anything I don't know. So leave a comment, if you want to get into a discussion, we can have discussions, whatever you guys think. Tell us what you think your top drum intros are and what you think about the Blue Oyster Cult album. Let us know what y'all are thinking. Tell us what you want us to review in the future. That's it for us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Yep. Good night. Goodbye. See you later.